Hey guys! Today I'm going to be sharing with you the most common mistakes that language learners make. I've seen so many people make these mistakes, and actually, I made them too when I was learning English, Spanish, French, and Italian. So these mistakes are super common, so don't feel bad if you make them. Now, my whole goal is to help you fix these mistakes. That way, the whole language learning process is a lot easier and effective. Don't forget to like and subscribe, that way you get notified whenever I post new language videos. The most common mistake is that they don't set goals. Sometimes people say they just want to learn a language. They say, oh, I want to learn Spanish, or I want to learn Korean, or I want to learn Russian. But that isn't very specific. Because if you aren't specific on what you want to learn, then this is going to have a big impact on your whole language learning process. Because most of the time when these people don't set goals, number one, they lose motivation a lot faster. Why is that? Because they can't see progress. They aren't really evaluating themselves. Because Spanish or Russian has a lot of little parts. So if you want to just get better at the whole thing, it's going to take a long time. But if you're specific and you say, I want to get better at my pronunciation in Spanish, then you're going to be able to see progress and see your improvement a lot clearer because you know what you're looking at. So they lose motivation, they can't see progress, and they're just starting to learn things at random. Because since they haven't established what they want to get better at, then they're going to start learning this and that and this and that. And number one, that wastes a lot of time. And number two, it isn't really helping you in any way, because maybe you just learn one thing relating to pronunciation. You're just practicing once, and then you just practice 10 times on something else. So that isn't very helpful. So I have 3 videos on setting goals, but specifically language goals. So the first one's going to help you how to set them and understand the SMART goal system, which SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And then the other 2 videos will help you achieve them with different tips and just helpful hacks. I will leave those videos in the description box down below and in the information icon up here or here. The second mistake is that they don't have the right mindset when they're learning a language. This can be divided into 2 parts. So the first one is motivation. When you want to learn a language, you need to be very motivated, because learning a language isn't the easiest thing. And you also need to be motivated for the right reasons, that way it lasts. I see a lot of people that are just learning a language just because they just feel like it, or maybe it's a class, or I don't know what, but their why isn't that important and their why isn't that good. So after a while, they just get tired, bored, annoyed, I don't know, and they end up giving up. So make sure that you're motivated and for the right reason. And then the second part is to make sure that when you're sitting down and learning that language, you're completely focused. Because we have very busy lives and we might be thinking of other things while we're doing something. But when you're learning a language, don't be preoccupied, just focus on learning that language, because you're learning a language from zero. That is very complicated. So you want to focus only on that. Number 3, not evaluating your progress. This is super important if you want to learn a language. Because number 1, it'll help you be a lot more motivated. Because most humans are like this, but if you realize that what you're working on is actually, improving and that you see progress, then you want to keep on learning that language. You're going to be motivated. And number 2, you're going to realize what is working and what isn't. Imagine you've been studying verbs, let's just say verbs, for a very long time, let's just say a month. And then you test yourself and you realize that you don't know that much about verbs. Then that means that something is wrong in the way that you're learning it, the way you're studying. So that will help you change. And if you see that you are getting really good at verbs, then that means that that's the way you learn. Because some websites might say that you should sing, some websites should say you should use flashcards, some will say to write it down, some will say to read it. But you need to figure out what works for you. Because what might work for me might not work for you, and then might not work for him or her or whatever. So evaluation will help you do that. The fourth mistake, and this might be one of the most common ones, which is stressing over mistakes. A lot of people are so scared of messing up, and this is super important, guys. I personally think that messing up is actually a good thing. I'll explain that later on. But making mistakes is inevitable. I mean, you're learning a language from zero. I mean, to be completely honest, guys, I still make mistakes in languages that I already learned. Just like I'm 100% sure that you make mistakes in your native language. It's inevitable, and especially if you're learning a language. Even if you go to an academy, you're gonna be making mistakes. Even if you're learning at home, you're gonna make mistakes. And now, let me explain why I think it's a good thing. Because when you make a mistake, you're getting better, you're improving. Something that you didn't know, well, now you know. Now you know what to do next, what to do better next time, you're getting better. So whenever you make a mistake, you're improving. So the more mistakes you make, you'll get better. So it's a lot better to make mistakes and get yourself out there than just staying inside and maybe not talking in your target language because you don't want to make a mistake. Number 5. A lot of people set unrealistic expectations. You cannot expect to learn a language overnight, or even after a week, or a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, or 6 months, or whatever. And you cannot expect to be just as good or just as bad as somebody else. Because if it took Sally 6 months to learn a language and it takes you 2 years, then that's fine. Because learning a language is very personal. And it takes a lot of time and patience and effort, and just give yourself credit of what you've learned so far and how you're improving right now. Later on, you'll look back and you'll be so proud of yourself. And guys, remember when I told you guys to set SMART goals when you want to set the goals for your language learning journey? Well, this also includes setting the right deadline and timeline. So this is extremely important to follow the SMART goal system. That way you don't set unrealistic expectations. And the 6th mistake is very similar to the one that I just talked about, but this one is comparing yourself to other people. You should never compare yourself in life in general, but specifically when you're learning a language. And that is because we're each different. Learning a language is very personal, because you might prefer learning grammar, for example, while I hate grammar. And then I prefer learning, pronunciation and vocabulary. Well, that might be something that you don't enjoy. And then I might be learning a lot faster pronunciation because I enjoy that, while you might learn a lot faster grammar. So we can't compare each other because we're different. My journey is different than yours, and that's totally fine. It's expected. So you just have to focus on you and focus on understanding you and your learning process and your learning style. Maybe you learn better by writing things down, while I learn better by reading. And then you might learn better by singing, and I learn better by talking. I don't know, but don't compare yourself. And even if it does take you twice as long as somebody else, that's totally fine. You're doing great, and just be proud of yourself. Number 7, misunderstanding your language learning style. Like I've said, we each learn things at a different pace and a different way, which is totally normal. There are actual 70 different ways of learning anything. That could be listening, that could be watching, that could be reading, or that could be actually doing something. So it's very important for you to identify what works best for you, because that will help you save a lot of time. Because if you're a more visual person, then you shouldn't be listening, you should be reading. And if you're listening, then that won't really help you. Well guys, that is it for today's video. Hopefully you found it helpful, and if you make these mistakes, I hope that you make the switch and that you improve. That way your whole language learning process is going to be a lot easier and exciting. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified whenever I post new language videos. And like I said, this goes for every single language. But if you want me to make a specific one, for example, for English, what mistakes do English learners make, or Spanish, or French, or even Italian, let me know and comment that down below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!